If you are preparing for the entrance examination for admissions to the School of Liberal Studies at Pandit Deendayal Energy University, the SLS PDEU, then this is the right video for you. In this video, I'm going to take you through the structure of the exam paper and what all you should be preparing to crack this examination. Without further ado, let's start. So, the first things first, we need to understand what exactly does the paper comprise of. Well, the first portion is the multiple choice question format part of the paper, which is divided into a total of 4 sections. So, one, you have questions on GK and current affairs, and there are 40 questions in this section. Second, you have the section of English, which again contains 20 questions. Third, we have the section of maths with 20 questions. And fourth, we have a section for reasoning, which again contains 20 questions. So in all, there are 100 questions in the paper, all multiple choice question format. Now let's understand the marking scheme for this paper. If you answer the question correctly, you get plus 0.5 marks. But if you get it wrong or you do not answer, there is no negative marking. So the maximum possible score in the MCQ section of the paper is 50 marks. The MCQs are followed by a topic on which you have to write an essay, a creative essay, which is followed by a personal interview. And your performance in the MCQs portion of the test, the essay, and the personal interview will give you a score which will help you gain admission into the institute. So, what all topics are we supposed to prepare to crack the written portion, the MCQ portions of the examination? Let's understand each one of them in detail. Starting with the first portion, GK and current affairs. Well, this is an unlimited ocean, right? There have been questions in the past about the names of the authors of famous books, both from history and from the past 1 year, terms related to sports, awards in sports, awards in various other fields, such as, let us say, international prizes such as the Nobel Prizes, sports awards, movie entertainment awards, valor awards, military awards, so on and so forth. There have been questions about geography. There have been questions from Indian history and polity. There have been questions on basic science. There have been questions from literature, so on and so forth. So there isn't really a simple formula which will help you narrow down the list of topics. But what I would very strongly recommend is look at the past year papers of SLS PDEU, which is officially available on their website. And that will give you a good idea of the different kinds of topics from where you need to prepare for the GK and current affairs portion. Now, let's move on to the second section, which is English. Now, in English, we have normally seen that in the past few years, there are 2 reading comprehension passages with 10 questions each. And some of the questions from the passage require you to understand the passage and answer. And some of them are vocabulary or grammar based questions from within the passage itself. So a decent command over reading speed, comprehension, and vocabulary is absolutely essential. If I put it on screen, then one, you need the ability to read and comprehend. Second, you need to have a great vocabulary. And you also need to be current and updated and well skilled with grammar. Because even if there aren't direct questions of grammar in the MCQ portions of the test, good command over English grammar and vocabulary is definitely going to be useful when you are writing the essay portion of the examination. So that's for GK and English. Now let's go on to the most dreaded portion of the examination, and that is mathematics. Many students fear maths. They think it is something which is not easy, which is not friendly in tackling. But believe me, if you have seen the past year papers, you will understand a lot of questions from this section are extremely simple. They usually rotate around a few common topics. A couple of questions have also been repeated in the past years. And if you go and check out my channel, you will find out I have solved a couple of past year papers live of maths and reasoning sections from the SLS PDEU past year papers. So what are some of the topics on which you need to be well versed in order to be able to crack this section? Well, obviously you need to be good at your basic calculations, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. You need to understand the basic concepts of averages, of ratios, proportion, of percentages. Then we have had questions involving solving of linear equations. Then we have had questions related to time, speed, and distance, questions related to time and work. Sometimes a few questions involving fundamentals of geometry or mensuration, questions related to angle between the hands of a clock, questions on dates of a calendar, and so on and so forth. So these are some of the basic topics which I always recommend all my students to be well versed with for any entrance examination which has a general aptitude mathematics section, right? So if you are comfortable with most of these topics, your preparation for SLS PDEU is already on track. And then we come to the last section, the section on reasoning. Now, some of the favorite type of questions in this section often are questions from series, number series. They have had questions of coding and decoding. There may be a question or two, not necessarily all the time, but sometimes of relations, of directions. Yet another favorite type of question which often makes its appearance are analogies. And what's an analogy? Well, if white is to snow, then black is to what? Right? Black is to coal. So comparison between things, analogies are very commonly asked and a favorite type of question of reasoning in the entrance examination. You could have questions of seating arrangements or simple puzzles. So the reasoning section is also a very comfortable section to crack. Again, you can check out my live recorded sessions which are there on the channel and look at the different questions which have been asked. Now, once you are done with all these things, you are pretty much set for the MCQ portion of the exam. You also need to practice writing a lot because you will be given a prompt and based on that you have to write a creative essay. Now, remember the essay writing tips that the English teachers at school always used to give. You always have an introduction, what you're going to say in the essay. You have the main body of the essay, the bulk of what you're trying to convey, and of course, you have a well written conclusion where you tell the reader what you just said before. Now, make sure that you have proper spellings, you have proper punctuation, and most importantly, you have proper grammar when you are writing the essay. I always tell students, don't just start writing. Once you have the topic in hand, make a mental model of how you are going to present your viewpoints. If necessary, in pencil, note down the order in which you are going to present the ideas. And once you have spent a couple of minutes organizing your thoughts, then start writing. It's always good to write down in great legible handwriting with minimal amount of strikeouts because the easier you make it for the examiner to read, the better framework of mind he is or she is going to be in and be more predisposed to give you marks for it. So remember, great handwriting, minimal strikeouts, none if possible, simple and lucid language will often earn you great marks. What are they checking for? Well, other than your writing style, your creativity, your spellings and grammar, they are looking how well you can think, how well you can organize your thoughts and put them in words, how creative you are in thinking about the given topic. So this is a section with adequate practice, you can definitely ace and get good marks. And last but definitely not the least, we come to the personal interview section. Well, let's understand what exactly is a personal interview and how do you prepare for it. A personal interview is a process through which you demonstrate certain qualities in you which the college admission committee is looking for, things beyond your academics. Your intelligence with numbers, general awareness, language, reasoning, has already been tested in the MCQ portion of the examination. Here they are checking what sort of a person you are, what sort of a personality do you have, how do you verbally communicate, how confident you are, how well do you present your ideas, how do you handle stress, so on and so forth. Things which are often termed as soft skills, right? So more than the right answer to a question, it is your approach to getting the answer and your behavior in a professional setting which is being closely examined. Some of the popular questions which interviewers love to ask in various college admission interviews are things like, tell me something about yourself. Why do you want to join this course? Why do you want to join our particular institute? What are your career plans? Tell me something more about your hobbies. What are your strengths and weaknesses? Why should we select you? So on and so forth. I very strongly recommend that you prepare an answer for all these questions and more and record yourself speaking out this answer. When you observe your own self on the camera, you will realize your mannerisms, your speech patterns. And when you hear that answer, ask yourself this question. If I were the interviewer, if I were to hear this answer from the candidate, would it convince me to select this candidate for the course? And if the answer to that is a resounding yes, then your answer is good enough. Otherwise, think, how could I make this answer better? What are my drawbacks? What are the points on which I need to emphasize more? Where are the places where I'm just rambling and not making sense? And repeatedly, when you perform this exercise, you will end up being a confident talker who will be able to present yourself well in front of the interview panel. So those were my particular tips and tricks for students who are preparing for the SLS PDEU entrance examination. I have put up numerous videos on various topics of English, math and reasoning on the channel. I've solved a few past year papers as well. If you find this to be useful, then do press the like button, share this content with all the friends who are planning to appear for different entrance examinations, and subscribe to our channel. If you wish for me to come up with more such videos or conduct sessions on particular topics or solve past year papers, then again do drop a comment below. Till then, I wish you all the very best and hope that you're able to crack those entrance examinations and get into the institute of your dreams. Here's wishing you all the best.